Beneath the bustling heart of Mexico, a silent sinking is underway. According to peer-reviewed UNAM studies and NASA JPL satellite data, over-extraction of groundwater has caused the ground to sink by up to 10 meters in just a century, an irreversible descent still accelerating in some districts. Historic palaces and cathedrals tilt as the earth drops nearly half a meter per year beneath them, while 22 million residents face a city running out of both water and stable ground. But how did the world's largest city end up built on a foundation guaranteed to fail? And why is this urban geology nightmare now impossible to stop? Long before Mexico City became a modern metropolis, the Valley of Mexico was a vast inland basin ringed by volcanoes and filled with lakes and wetlands. The largest of these, Lake Texcoco, covered much of what is now the city center. Over thousands of years, fine-grained clays and silts settled to the lakebed, forming a thick, water-saturated layer that still lies beneath the streets and skyscrapers. These ancient sediments are unlike solid rock or even compacted soil. Instead, they are soft, highly compressible, and hold enormous amounts of groundwater within their microscopic pores. Peer-reviewed studies by UNAM geologists describe this uppermost sequence as a 200-meter-thick aquitard, essentially a sponge of silty clay that extends for kilometers in every direction. Even small changes in water content can cause the entire layer to shrink, settle, or shift. This geologic foundation was never meant to support the weight of a city. When the Spanish drained Lake Texcoco in the 17th century, they exposed not just new land, but a hidden vulnerability. The ground beneath Mexico City is so compressible that heavy buildings and even the city's own infrastructure can cause it to deform. Unlike more stable ground, these clays respond to pressure by squeezing out water and collapsing in on themselves. The result is a landscape that is constantly in motion, sinking unevenly as both natural processes and human actions remove water from below. Every layer of Mexico City's history, from Aztec causeways to modern highways, rests on a foundation that is inherently unstable, shaped by the legacy of its ancient lakebed. Over the last 115 years, Mexico City has experienced one of the most dramatic cases of urban sinking ever recorded. Decades of ground-based leveling, combined with modern GPS and satellite data, provide a precise measurement of this transformation. According to continuous monitoring by UNAM geologists, the city's surface has dropped by approximately 9 to 10 meters since the early 20th century. This figure is not an estimate. It is the result of painstaking measurement year after year across hundreds of benchmarks and reinforced by satellite interferometry from NASA's AREA program. The data reveal a relentless downward trend, confirming that this is not a temporary slump, but a permanent loss of elevation. Each meter lost represents the irreversible compaction of the silty clay aquitard beneath the city, triggered by groundwater extraction. The UNAM team's century-long leveling record shows that even as extraction volumes fluctuated, the ground never rebounded. Once the ancient lakebed sediments collapse, the lost space can never be restored. GPS stations scattered across the basin now record subsidence rates with sub-centimeter accuracy, matching the satellite observations almost perfectly. These measurements leave no doubt. The city's foundation has already settled by nearly the height of a 3-story building. The consequences are locked in, and the maps produced by UNAM and NASA JPL serve as a stark warning. This is not a theoretical risk. It is a measured, ongoing reality visible in the hard numbers and the city's shifting horizon. Satellite data has transformed the way scientists track Mexico City's collapse. Using Sentinel-1 radar and NASA area processing, researchers have mapped the city's descent in extraordinary detail. The resulting velocity fields reveal a patchwork of sinking zones, each with its own pace and intensity. In the southern boroughs, places like Iztapalapa and Xochimilco, the ground is dropping at rates that defy belief. Up to 50 centimeters per year, according to AREA's time series from 2002 to 2022. This figure, confirmed by the NASA JPL INSAR team, stands as the fastest documented urban subsidence rate on the planet. The area velocity map doesn't just show a city in motion, it exposes a crisis drawn in color gradients. Hotspots stretch in corridors through the southern basin, while the historic center forms another deep trough. These patterns follow the thickness of the ancient lakebed clays, with the most dramatic sinking where the silty aquitard runs deepest. Peripheral neighborhoods built on sandy outcrops fare better, showing only minor movement, sometimes less than a tenth of the city's peak rate. But the central and southern districts, home to millions, are locked in a downward spiral, with AREA's data showing no sign of slowdown over 2 decades. NASA JPL geophysicists describe the city as a living laboratory for ground deformation, where every pixel of the AREA map represents the cumulative effect of groundwater extraction and sediment collapse. The spatial heterogeneity is stark. One block may be stable, the next dropping by half a meter each year. These velocity fields, cross-checked with UNAM GPS stations, leave no doubt about the scale of the threat. The science is clear, the evidence is visible from space, and the risk is mapped in real time. The Palacio de Bellas Artes stands as a monument to Mexico's artistic legacy, yet beneath its marble floors, the ground has dropped more than 4 meters since the building opened in 1934. Engineers from UNAM monitor the site with laser scanners and tilt meters, measuring the slow descent and subtle tilting of the dome. Cracks in the facade and water seeping through fissures are the visible scars of a city in motion. The Metropolitan Cathedral, a symbol of colonial history, faces its own struggle. Decades of settlement have forced emergency interventions. Deep soil-mixing columns and drainage galleries now shore up the ancient stonework, but the sinking continues at nearly 2 centimeters per year. Each effort buys time, not a solution. Across the city, the effects of subsidence ripple through daily life. Mexico City's water network, designed to serve millions, loses about 40% of its supply before it ever reaches a tap. According to SACMEX audits, that is nearly 2 billion liters vanishing each day through ruptured pipes and misaligned joints, damage traced directly to the shifting ground. In neighborhoods like Iztapalapa, entire stretches of main lines have been replaced, only to crack again as the earth drops beneath them. The cost is measured not just in pesos, but in hours spent without water, and in the frustration of families watching repairs unravel. The scale of exposure is staggering. INEGI demographic studies count 22 million people living atop this restless basin. Most reside within the mapped subsidence corridors, where the risk of structural damage, flooding, and service disruption grows each year. For heritage engineers and municipal auditors, the numbers are more than statistics. They represent a city's identity, its daily routines, and its future, all threatened by a process that cannot be reversed. UNAM's latest forecasts lay out a timeline that is both precise and unsettling. By mid-century, central and southern districts, already marked as hotspots on ensemble maps from NASA JPL, are projected to drop by another 2 meters or more. This is not a uniform descent. Predictive models show a patchwork of risk, with 7 boroughs likely to cross the half-a-meter per year threshold between 2038 and 2045. At that pace, the ground will subside faster than infrastructure can be rebuilt, pushing parts of Iztapalapa, Xochimilco, and Tlahuac into a zone where safe habitation is no longer possible. UNAM modelers describe these limits as hard lines on the city's future. Once crossed, engineering interventions become unfeasible, and displacement becomes inevitable. The science leaves little room for optimism. Unless extraction is drastically reduced, millions could find themselves living in districts officially classified as uninhabitable within a single generation. Policy planners and engineers have assembled a toolkit of responses, each with its own limits. Managed aquifer recharge, called MR, channels stormwater into infiltration basins and deep wells, returning up to 0.8 cubic kilometers of water per year to the ground. Yet this figure is a fraction of what pumping removes. Extraction caps, set by Conagua at 10 cubic kilometers per year, exist on paper, but enforcement is patchy, with informal wells and industrial demand undermining compliance. Leak repair has shown promise. Targeted programs using acoustic detection and AI-driven prioritization cut water loss by 7% in pilot zones, saving millions of liters each day. Still, the sheer scale of subsidence means repairs must race against ground movement that cracks new pipes as fast as old ones are fixed. Governance reforms, such as the Subsidence Observatory, aim to unify data and decision-making, but fragmented authority and resource constraints slow real progress. Even the most ambitious efforts face hard physical and political barriers. Mexico City's ground continues its irreversible descent, confirmed by UNAM and NASA JPL data, while millions live atop a vanishing foundation. This is not just history unfolding, it is a warning to every growing city facing water stress. The Earth keeps sinking, whether we are watching or not. Share your thoughts below.